the thing is, today we're going to run the masterclass of how to get goals with clarity and confidence with James Pesch, my friend. Hi, James.
Good morning.
Right, so let me introduce James. James is a human behavior specialist living in Tulsa, USA, who is skilled in neuro-linguistic programming, mentalism, personal training, and psychology. James is a life coach who creates content, workshop, and seminars to enable you and others just like you to be your own hero. Welcome, James.
Welcome. Thank you, Mayur.
Did I miss anything? I think you must be doing much more than I said.
I do quite a bit. That's normally the introduction that I'm happiest with. It's the way that someone else introduced me, and it just seemed like, that was better than anything I've ever said. So I'll stick with that.
Okay, for those who don't know me, who don't know James, I need to tell you, James is brilliant at what he does. He's not good at NLP, but he's just great at NLP. He invents new techniques, and he's so creative to solve problems. Very friendly person. If you want to reach to him, he will always welcome you. Such a nice fella, right? So along with James is me joining, Mayur Bardolia. Mayur Bardolia, yes, I'm a life coach and author living in Surat, India, who helps people to deal with challenges with NLP, behavior training, and leadership training. And I conduct coaching, training program, and create online courses to help you to create more money, time, and relationships. So let's keep the ball rolling. So what are you going to learn? First of all, well-formed outcomes. So how to develop an understanding of what you want and how to get that. Most people don't know what is goal and how to set the goal. And obviously, they're not able to achieve any goal. Right? Then we're going to talk about goal getting process. That means how to create a step-by-step action plan to reach to your outcome, to increase the level of motivation, your desire to achieve, and the likelihood that you will succeed, and will enable you to be resourceful and confident in your business. So that part will be covered by me. And to add more point, James is going to help you to achieve your goal with the mindset, how to program your mindset so that you can achieve your goal. So I'm going to talk about some theory part, but James is going to help you to shift your mind. So he is going to cover an easy and rapid method where the NLP coach, James, will help you to map the brain, map the pattern the brain is using to like something. And at the same time, we elicit the pattern the brain uses in order to dislike something. And then we swap them intentionally. So he's going to do some exercises, and I request all of you to just do the exercise, rigorously. Then he's also going to talk about reframing. The most emotional triggers can be minimized and eliminated once the person experiencing the emotion can disassociate from the trigger or anchor. And we use a powerful method of third-person dissociation to allow the brain to accept a new perspective and gain clarity. That's going to be wonderful. And the next exercise is going to share is the switch pattern. My favorite pattern too, but you're going to learn from the master. It's a classic technique where the perfect version of oneself is visualized and used to overcome the mind's existing pattern of an unwanted behavior, relationship, or situation. So let's move on. So first of all, how to get goals. So you are going to learn how to develop an understanding of what your customer wants. And in fact, you can use the same technique in your sales training, sales meeting as well, and how to get the goals and how to help others to get their goals. And I'm also going to teach you how to focus on how to create a step-by-step plan to reach to your outcome, right? So that you feel confident and you feel motivated. So first of all, I don't like the word called goal. Goal is really overwhelming word. When someone talk about the goal, we think like goal is just too big, and we get scared to even achieve that. Okay. So in fact, I should request you to change the word from goal to task or an outcome, because it's less threatening. When you're working on a task, you're most likely to complete the task. Task is just like you want to do certain things and you want to just finish it to the end. I mean, you're going to do it until you finish. And task is actually more acceptable and less frightening than the word goal. However, I'm going to use the word goal, over the period of this masterclass. But pardon me, whenever I say goal, you have to say task, right? Goal,
Sure.
task, or an outcome. So how to set up the well-formed outcome? How to plan the outcome in such a way that you are most likely going to achieve? Number one, your outcome should be positive, right? I'm going to share with you a formula called PURE. P for positively stated or precise. Number two, U stands for under control, and R stands for real, and E stands for ecological. So if the goal or your outcome is well formed, you're most likely to get what you want. So let's start with P for positively stated or precise. What exactly you want, okay? Don't set your goal or outcome in a negative way. Don't talk like, I don't want you to be poor. I don't want you to be, weird. I don't want you just lose. Precisely decide what exactly you want. Okay, it should be so specific to achieve. Remember, if it's not specific, you are not going to get. Just imagine that you are at your home and you want to go somewhere, but you precisely know where you're going to end up your journey, right? Even if you set the location, set the end point in your GPS, if you don't set the exact point in the GPS, it will, it will not guide you. The same way, our mind is the goal-seeking missile. If you don't tell them what exactly you want, it will not achieve, it will not work, right? Because it needs a very specific endpoint to work on. So the first thing is positively stated. U stands for under control. That means the goal should be under control. It should be under your control. Let's say if I want to be the president of USA, possible? And no, it's never possible. It's never under my control. Second thing, if I'm doing a job somewhere and if I want to make more money, it's not under my control. It's under the control of my employer. If my employer is making more money than me, then only he can give me some chunk. Okay. Also, he must be agreed to give me more salary. So there are many goals which are not under your control. So you got to know what is under your control, what is not under your control. But there's also a thin line in between under your control and not under your control. Is called your you can control or you can influence something. Let's say you want to make some money in your business. Is it under your control? Not completely, but the thing is you can influence more people to buy your product or service, and that's how you can get that thing which is not under your control to in your control. So the point we have discussed is your outcome should be under your control. The third thing is real. Whenever you set any outcome, whenever you set any goal, you must be able to see what you're going to get. You must be able to hear what will happen whenever you get. You must be able to feel whenever you will achieve your goal. If any of these three things are missing, you're not going to get your goal. Mm-hmm. E stands for ecological. Your outcome is valuable for every part of you as a balanced system. Let's say if you set a goal of traveling all over the world, but the thing is, if your spouse is not loving travel, you can't enjoy the goal. Let's say if you want to build a really big company, right? But you will be you have to spend a lot of time in your company in order to run your business. But that's not going to help you to live a life which you call work-life balance. But the thing is, whenever you set a goal, it should not affect the other part of your life, such as your health, your personal life, your family life, your social life, your spiritual life, even your emotional well-being. Those things really matter to you. So if those things are affected, you will not be happy even if you get the goal. So that's what we have discussed, right? P for positively stated outcome, U for under your control, R for real, and E for ecological. So if you don't follow this formula, right? Let me just quickly tell you, if your outcome is not positively stated, right, you will move away from what you don't want, but you may not get quite what you do want. If it's not under your control, you can't put 100% of your energy into achieving your goal. So it will seem more difficult or frustrating to achieve. If it's not real, you will get something, but it won't be exactly what you want. I mean, for sometimes people set a goal like, I want a big house, right? That is not a goal. What do you mean by big house? What do you mean? It's just too vague. It's not specific. It's not even real.
Right.
Some people say, oh, I want to make more money. Let's say if you have $1,000 right now, and if I give you extra $1, there you go. You got more money. Are you happy with that? There you go. You're not. So the thing is, whenever you set an outcome or goal, it should be specific. Also, if it's not ecological, you may get what you want, but at some point, an unplanned side effect will pop up and you may lose something that you did not expect to. So think about that. Now we'll teach you exactly how to create a well-formed outcome. It's a bit of a mental work. But let me tell you, General George Patton said, failing to plan is plan to fail. If you don't plan in advance, you're certainly going to fail. So whenever you set any goal, you have to precisely design what exactly you want, then only you'll be able to get. It's just like cooking any dish. Let's say looking at a recipe book will not help you. Even you have to follow exact step-by-step method or process explained in the recipe. You have to include all those ingredients in order to make a specific dish. Then only you will be able to make that dish. If you miss only one or two key ingredients, you won't be able to make that dish. If you miss one or two step out of the process, you won't be able to make that dish. So this is the exact method which I'm going to teach you. It will help you out to create a well-formed outcome. So it's an exercise for you. Now, what do you want? Okay. Is that something you want to achieve rather than avoid? Some people say, I don't want to be sad. I don't want to feel rejected. Don't set like that. Okay. I'll teach you in the next slide some more questions, right, that will help you out to design your outcome. When, where, and with whom do you want it? How do you know when you got it? What will you see, hear, feel, taste, and smell? Just visualize it. What will happen if you get this? What will not happen if you get this? What will happen if you don't get this result? And what will not happen if you don't get it? What is the first step that you will take? What resources do you have? All right. Let me give you a very golden idea. If you read at the bottom of this slide, in a sales meeting as well, if you ask these questions to your client, they're most probably going to tell you what exactly they want. And if you have that, have those things that they want, you can easily present your product or service and can say, do you think you want this? Right? And if I offer you the solution, what you are looking for, would you accept it? It's going to work in most of the time in sales meeting as well, because you're helping them to achieve their goal. So here's an exercise for you, right? You can take a screenshot if you want, or else, I will give you the link where you can download the entire PDF of this, of the part that I'm going to cover. Okay. So do this exercise after we finish this call. What specifically you want, right? It must be very specific. Another thing is, what will having this do for you? That means, what's the purpose of doing this? If your why is not clear, then you will not enjoy even if you get this outcome. How will you know when you have achieved your goal? What you will see, right? That's the next question. What will you hear when you have that outcome? Both from your internal dialogue and from others. That means, what will you talk to yourself when you achieve that goal? And what will you talk to others when you achieve that goal? The next question is, What will you feel when you have your outcome? Will you feel excited? Will you feel happy? Will you feel recognized? Will you feel cared or loved when you receive that outcome? Do you and you alone have control of your outcome? Think about that, because most of the people don't achieve the goal because those things are not under their control. And does your outcome involve others? Well, sometimes you set a goal where you need the support from your family, your friends, business partners, your colleagues, and some investors, some of your employees, some experts, some consultants, some coaches, some trainers. Find out who can help you out to achieve the goal. Then, can you both initiate and maintain the momentum to achieve your goal? That means if you want to set a goal, would you be able to take the first step? If you're working with someone, would you be able to walk together? Would you be able to move forward together or not? Will it be beneficial to both parties or not? When, where, and how, and with whom do you want this outcome? Right? With whom do you want to reach to that outcome? Think about that. Last 4 questions. What will happen if you do achieve this outcome, right? This is really important. What will happen, right? What's going to happen in all areas of your life? What will happen if you don't achieve the outcome? Think about it. You're going to create the default future. That means whatever you're doing right now, it will be the same or even worse if you don't achieve that outcome. What will not happen if you do? Okay? What will not happen if you don't do it? Okay? Think about this question. I'm going to share with you the link of the document which I'm going to share, okay? And then if you just do the exercise precisely, you're most likely going to take the next step forward. But before you move on, let me say something to you that you need to, whenever you want to create an action plan or the process to achieve your outcome, you may get stuck. You may feel the fear, but ask yourself a magic question. What is stopping me? What is stopping you to achieve your outcome? If you find something, the next step is, what do I want instead? What outcome you want? Okay. Sometimes what happens if we stop ourselves? Nobody's stopping us. We have the potential, we have the resources, but the thing is, we stop ourselves. But sometimes, it may happen that something really, some real thing is stopping us. Some people are stopping us. Then what should you do instead? Okay, maybe you think your communication skill is not powerful. What should you do instead? You need to learn communication skill. You might be thinking, oh, I don't know how to sell. What do you need to do instead? Learn how to sell. Simple as that. Okay, so find out what is stopping you until if I got this outcome, what will it do it for me? Create step-by-step action plan with a minute detail. Okay, so far I have covered my part. So over to James. James, are you happy? You ready?
Man, that was a fantastic presentation, Mayur.
Thank you. Thank you. Any question from the participants? Any question?
Check the chat box or anything.
Any question, friends? Cool. Yeah, you can reach to me or James directly if you have any question. Thank you, Sherry.
Okay. It appears we have a few people chatting as well, so great to hear from you. Thank you very much, everyone. Happy to have you here. Happy to have you here.
Yeah.
First of all, we're going to be covering mapping across, and I created a PowerPoint presentation. However, I forgot to save it, so I won't be sharing my PowerPoint presentation. I'll do my best to give visualizations with my words, and if anybody needs clarification, just reach out to me in the chat box, and I'll do my best to elaborate. So first of all, mapping across is a technique that we refer to. Also, we call it likes to dislikes, because what we're going to do is we're going to ask the brain how it likes to think about the thing that it likes. And normally, this gets confusing for people because the thing that you like doesn't necessarily mean that it's good for you or it's something that you think that you should enjoy. And so people have this immediate gut reaction that, well, I don't want to say that I like the habit that I no longer want to do. But it's really important to be honest with yourself and for us to allow ourselves to be okay with the fact that the reason that we're doing the behavior that we no longer would like to do is because we like it. Something about it is doing something for us. So it's important to go ahead and allow the brain to like that thing, whether that's eating ice cream too much in the evenings and you no longer want to do that. There's a few people who have come to me who are smoking and want to no longer use tobacco. There's been a few things like when my child gets frustrating, I don't want to react out of anger. So all of these things are behaviors that right now we do them and we react, and it's because that's the way we like to act initially. It's the way that our brain likes to react. So when you think about that moment now, whatever that is in your life, it probably comes to your brain in some form of picture or movie. And you can, when you think about that habit, you can kind of see it in your mind, whether that's you doing the activity or you can see the substance. And wherever it is, normally it has some sort of picture associated with it, like black and white or in color. Sometimes it's really vivid and clear, and other times it's kind of blurry. But it's important for you to imagine now what it looks like whenever you're doing that behavior or that habit, so that your brain can accurately get the emotions and release the chemicals that it needs to release in order to create that emotional appeal to do that thing. So it's a pretty simple thing once you've done that and you've elicited that strategy and figured out, how does my brain think about that habit? Like every time I go to eat that cheeseburger and I think about it now and my mouth starts to water, what is it about that whenever I think about it that makes me want to eat that? And so I don't know if everyone watching eats cheeseburgers. Not everybody probably does. So that may not be the best example. However, it's really important for you to notice that. Now, there's also things that you don't even have to try to dislike. Most of us have a gut reaction to certain things like spoiled milk, or I personally don't prefer to eat sauerkraut. I don't know if anyone here is a fan of that, but it's not great for me. So I have a thing that I do where I imagine the sauerkraut or I imagine the spoiled milk, and my brain has a way of thinking about the things I dislike as well. And whenever I think about those things, I have feelings inside of me. I have pictures that are associated with it, movies that can play out with it. And what you do is, once you've been able to extract the model for what you like and also what you dislike, all you have to do is slide the thing that you like over into the visual frame of reference for the thing that you created that you dislike. If I were, let's say I'm smoking and I'd like to stop. Well, the first thing that I do is think about all of the things and the ways that I like to smoke. And then I think about something as simple as sauerkraut and the fact that I dislike it and the way that I think about sauerkraut. Now, all I have to do is take the, does somebody have a microphone on? Yeah. All I have to do now is take the idea of the thing that I like, the smoking, and I slide that image. If it's clear and it's real vivid and in color, then I want to slide that image over into the area that I dislike, like how I used to think about the sauerkraut or the spoiled milk. And then if the color is in black and white, or if it's fuzzy and how I normally see that, or if I smell something, then I'm going to have that same smell associated with now the idea of smoking. Now, this is more powerful and better if you know how to ask the questions that relate to the visual, the auditory, or the kinesthetic words that people use to think of those thoughts. And so if you don't know how to do that, I highly recommend hiring a coach like Mayur if he's in your area, or somebody that has had some experience with neuro-linguistic programming. And the reason why is because neuro-linguistic programmers are trained to be able to identify language patterns. We're looking for and listening for the words that are visual, the words that are kinesthetic, the words that are auditory, so that we can create a clear map across for those, so that we know clearly that we've created the thing that you like, and we know that we've clearly created the thing you dislike, and we can map those across. If this doesn't make sense, sometimes you're going to have to hire a coach that knows how to do this. One of the problems is once you get into an emotional state, quite often it's very difficult to be able to use a method like this, because once you're emotional and once you get that limbic system going, it becomes very difficult to notice the exact triggers that are making you stay in that emotional state. And so oftentimes it can be very beneficial to hire a coach in that space. The next thing that I'd like to talk to you about is reframing. And the reason that reframing is so powerful is because there's really no limit to how you can reframe. I have a YouTube video out with my son where I demonstrated what reframing is. And I'll just go ahead and elaborate on that quickly. Reframing is the ability to take a concept or an idea and just change the frame, change a little bit about how you look at the situation. So when you think about reframing and you consider something along the lines of, well, let's say a child walks up and starts talking to a stranger. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? Well, whenever you first consider whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, you most of the time will have an answer, but it's not yet time to answer that question because we don't have enough information. So whenever you consider, is it a good thing or a bad thing for a child to talk to a stranger? I don't know yet, but most people would say, well, that's bad. That's a bad thing. Well, hang on. What if there's a fire and this child is walking up to a stranger and the stranger happens to be a firefighter and he's coming to say, hey, I need you to come and help put out this fire. Is it a good thing or a bad thing for the child to talk to a stranger? Well, most people at this point would say, well, it's a good thing. But wait, you can reframe again and say, well, let's consider now that the child doesn't have the correct address to the fire and the firefighter was already heading to the correct address. Now, is it a good thing or a bad thing for the child to talk to the firefighter? And once again, most people would be able to say, well, now it's a bad thing. So whenever you're able to reframe anything, it doesn't matter what the situation is, it gives you the ability and the power to change your mind about that situation. So one of the ways that we like to do this is we like to give the person we're working with different characters to allow those characters to interact with the situation. Let's say that you have a difficult decision coming up and you're not sure what you should do. Oftentimes in those situations, I'll allow the person to create a third person representation and ask that person to analyze the situation. And sometimes I like to give them a reference like Albert Einstein. Let's not say that you're in this situation. What if Albert Einstein were sitting here in your shoes and had all of the data, all of the facts, and all of the information? What decision do you think he would make? And oftentimes they will come up with the decision that to them is the smartest decision, because the character that you've given them is somebody that they consider to be the most intelligent, the most clear thinking, the most rational. And so that allows the brain to open and accept that decision. One of the ways that you can do this that will give you a little more power, though, is like in your own life, in your own situation. If you have somebody at work who has been a colleague who's been harassing you, or at school, my son had a bully. And if you will imagine what it would look like if you were 15 foot tall and a giant and standing over that situation or that problem, how do you feel about it now? Whenever we allow ourselves to visualize and picture a reframe of the situation, any type of reframe, it doesn't matter whether we change our size or whether we change our association to the situation, whether maybe we're on the outside looking in. So let's say that this didn't happen to you, it didn't occur to you. Let's say it happened to somebody who was very capable and very strong, able to withstand heavy pressures. Let's say it happened to them. How do you think they would handle it? Superman, someone like that. And when we give another character, another person to look from their perspective, oftentimes that emotional trigger that person had associated with that negative state will be removed just by allowing the brain to reframe. And whenever we are able to do that, it allows the brain to see that however I'm looking at this situation is not how it's actually occurring. And that's a powerful moment in the brain. And that's what reframing does, is it allows the brain to see, oh, I can see this situation from several perspectives. And when the brain can do this, it allows it to not take things so personally. It's not so first person anymore. If I can take myself out of the situation, if I can change the situation and make it look differently, well, then it's not really happening to me, is it? And reframing is very, very powerful in that way. Once again, reframing is a technique that we use in neurolinguistic programming that always you want to do the same thing that Mayur was stating, is that you want positive outcomes. So before you start using reframing, before you start using mapping across, you have to know the outcome that you want, and it has to be positively stated before starting any of these techniques. So that's what makes reframing and mapping across so powerful. Now, the last technique that we like to use oftentimes as neurolinguistic programmers is the swish pattern. And the swish pattern is really powerful because you really don't have to do much except for think about whatever it is that's causing you grief. That's a problem that you no longer want to do. And whenever you consider that, it probably has some sort of picture or some sort of image, some sounds that go along with that. And when you think about that, you kind of want to keep that out in front of you, and almost like it's on a movie screen, and you want to just have that picture there. And what I want you to do is, in the back of your mind, somewhere here, you're going to create the perfect version of yourself. And when I say the perfect version of yourself, that's the perfect version to you. So it's the character traits that you're most proud of. The way you look whenever you're being the best version of yourself, the way that you sound, and how do you feel whenever you are operating on that high level and executing at every level that you want to, in every capacity, in every area. What does that person look like? And whenever you invent that picture, almost like it's coming in like a slingshot, you want to hear a swoosh and just shatter that old image, that behavior that you no longer want to do. You want to crush it. Okay? Now, whenever you do with that new picture, the only remaining image that you want to have left is the picture of you in your mind, that powerful image. And you want to make it big. I mean, real big and vivid. Just blow that thing up and then connect with that moment. Like whenever you smashed it, connect with that moment. That it was an actual thing, that it happened, that it was powerful, and that it's clear. Another thing about mapping across, whenever you're doing that, another way to make sure that you're doing that powerfully is to also have that auditory anchor where you make a sound in your mind that clicks it and locks it into place. It just allows your brain to acknowledge that it's done, okay? I've had a lot of people, break the chain. I've had people crush it. It doesn't matter what you need to do as an activity or a behavior in your own mind to destroy that old imagery that your brain used to have about that thing that you no longer want. But you have to destroy it entirely, and it has to be the only remaining image, has to be the perfect version of you. And so those are the three methods that are probably among my favorites to implement and use whenever I'm working with a client. I personally use the swish pattern on myself most often. It just is easy for me to do. And I know what that picture looks like in my head, the perfect version of me. I've spent a lot of time constructing that guy. So it's really, really easy for me to use that imagery, that sound, and that feeling that I've got deep down inside of me in order to crush those old thoughts and those old self-doubt and negativity. So this is a method that I like to encourage others to use as quickly as possible. And it's really simple to follow. However, if you ever have problems with this, there are tutorials out there that can help you, but I highly recommend getting the personal touch of a trainer, because probably whatever it is that you're missing out on is something small, just a little thing that you just don't know the skill or the technique in that one area. And so if you can't get that to work, definitely reach out to somebody who's skilled in these areas. And these are not the only three techniques or methods that we use. They're just three of the most powerful and the easiest that, I'll be honest, I really just wanted to share them because they're fun. And I really appreciate Mayur giving me the time, the opportunity for this workshop. This has been a lot of fun.
Yeah, perfect.
Does anybody have any questions?
Perfect. Really brilliant. Brilliant. So, any question, friends? James has shared really brilliant techniques with all of us. I love it, especially the last one, the switch pattern. The only question is, which I receive quite a lot of time from people, that what should we do if we cannot imagine very well? I mean, some people have the problem to visualize. So, what's your take on that?
So most of the, hey, Fran, I just got a message here on the YouTube video for reframing with my son. If you go to YouTube and you type in James Pesch reframing, you'll see the video with me and my son. It's several months old, but I will share a link here in just a second. If you're not great at visualizing and you're not great at imagining, most often the best thing to do is to write down the words. I do 2 columns. So, and on the left-hand side, I'll keep track, or right-hand side, I don't know which way it's mirrored here, but on one side, I'll keep track of all the negative words that are associated with the emotional state that I no longer want. So if they're not good at visualizing or imagining, chances are they're pretty good at feeling, or they're pretty good at hearing the sounds that they no longer want to hear. So what I do is I get a piece of paper and write those down. All the things that you no longer want to hear, all of the things that you no longer want to feel. And then on the other side, on the column, I write down everything that you do want to feel, and all of the things, all of the sounds that you do want to hear. Now, whenever you map those across, it's usually pretty easy because you're looking at a visual representation. And whenever people are ready to move on from the negativity, from the old thing, I have them literally just cross it out. Like, are you ready to be done with this? When you're ready, cross out the old list and circle the new. And sometimes having that behavior that gives them a physical thing to do can help them activate everything they need to visualize and imagine what's going on better.
Wow, that's perfect. Good. That was brilliant. I mean, what I generally do, I take 2 pieces of paper, right? On one piece of paper, I write down the outcome that I don't want, the state what I don't want. I just draw something on it or write something on it. I prefer the visual image. And on the other hand, I got another picture, the outcome that I do want, and the positive outcome, obviously, and the positive state that I want, and associated with the picture. And then I try to bring the bad image, the bad outcome paper closer to me, then suddenly move it away and replace with the better one. Okay, then
that's a great idea.
I leave it for 2 to 3 minutes, and then I bring back the old image again, and then quickly move it backwards, and then bring the positive one forward.
Yes,
that's what I generally do. And if you do it 10-15 times, you're most probably going to get rid of the bad image or the bad outcome or the bad state immediately. So any other question, guys?
Another good way to do this is if you have markers to write in different colors. So if you have a color that you dislike, write everything out that you no longer want in that color, and write the things out that you do want in another color. And that's another way. My son and my wife are very kinesthetically motivated by colors. So whenever I teach my son new spelling words, we always do it using the NLP technique of visualizing the different colors. And he loves that method because he's also anchored to the emotional states with the colors. So he feels confident whenever we're doing it because we've already set that emotional anchor to the color green. And that makes him feel very confident, very calm and cool. And so while we do the technique, at the end of teaching spelling, he also has that anchor that's included with that color. So we get done learning and he feels calm and relaxed and at the end of that. So that's another beneficial aspect of including color in what you do.
Perfect. That's also powerful. James, you got a question from Dharmendra.
Oh, okay. So I'm going to go ahead and read the question in case everyone's not paying attention to the chat box. I did go ahead and share the reframing video with my son. I am new to this field, but it seems that one of the things discussed here is deliberately fooling our brain and make it do, feel, or think what we want to, right?
Hmm.
So I don't necessarily use the term fooling our brain. I don't necessarily think that it's wrong. It just sounds a little bit almost negative, because I think deliberate is correct. We are being intentional. So I don't think so. It's more foolish if your brain is not operating in a way that's getting you the results that you want, to continue allowing it to function that way, rather than intentionally shifting the way that you're thinking to a more productive state. So it is about being deliberate and intentional, but it's about focusing on being intentional with your emotional states and your mental states, rather than being reactive. You take on this mentality of being proactive.
Exactly, exactly. If the outcome or the state is not serving you, you need to change it, right? If
Sure.
it's not productive, if it's not helping you to grow, then by all means you can change the way you think, change the way you hear, and change the way you feel. And if that change is helping you to grow and to succeed and to achieve your goal, it makes you happy and others happy, then by all means, it's fair and ethical to do that.
Absolutely.
Perfect. Yeah. Anything else?
Yeah, this has been great. Any other questions?
Yeah, so but for kind information, everyone, if you can find wonderful videos of James on YouTube. He has made tons of videos where he shares a lot of exercises and freely, and they are mind-blowing. I watched so many of James's video. I got inspiration quite a lot of time. In fact, I use some of his technique. He doesn't know it yet. So very inspirational. If you want to learn neuro-linguistic programming, if you want to just quickly go through some exercises, you should watch some videos from James. And if you want to get some motivation, if you want to move ahead in your life, if you're stuck, we should watch my videos on YouTube. Just type in my name, Mayur Bardolia, and you should be able to see about 80 to 100 videos on YouTube. James has also created so many videos. And so if you need any help, feel free to reach to us. Just type in our name in Google. We are easy to find. What do you say, James?
Yeah, absolutely. I really want to appreciate everyone who made time, all of my network who was here really early. I do want to download and upload this video at some point. I'm not sure how we're going to do that, Mayur, but whenever we do, we'll let everyone know when it's available.
Perfect, perfect. Yeah, so I will receive the recording, and I don't know when, but as soon as I receive the recording, I do the minor edit, then I will forward it to you. My promise.
Fantastic.
Perfect. So
right.
thank you.
Have a wonderful morning. I really appreciate it, or evening, wherever you're at. And I'm going to sign off. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.